Are you or someone you know considering buying a home? If so, you're in the same boat as me, so this might be a conversation you want to have. Hey, this is Austin Bristow with Design for Discipline, and over the last few months there have been two articles specifically that have really resonated with me about home ownership, and I wanted to share them with you just as food for thought. The first happened back in February. There was actually a follow-up article to the first one in March because the guy got so much feedback. But an individual named Ken Fisher for the USA Today wrote an article talking about the fact that your home may not be as good an investment as you think it is. And apparently a lot of people were up in arms about the idea, but the title itself was intriguing to me because as you think about the pros and cons of home ownership, the fact that you're building equity is typically one that we reference when rationalizing the fact that we should go ahead and jump into home ownership. But the statistics that he pulls, which are all fascinating, tend to build the opposite story. That if we think about our home as truly an investment, a vehicle that we want to use later in our life to have financial security in our golden years, it's not the best place to put our money. The example that he pulls is a 10-year time period from multiple markets across the country. He picked one, I believe, out in California that during that time period was the most lucrative or the highest valued market and best returns in the country. And if you took that time period for 10 years from when you bought to when you sold, and you took in all the different factors that go into owning a home, things you may have to pay for when they break, you got about a 10.5% annual return on your investment, which is comparable to what you would get by investing your money in the market. However, that was the best housing market in the country, and not every housing market in the country is the best housing market. In fact, there was another city, I think it was Austin, Texas, where if you owned a home during that same period, you lost 13% per year annually on your investment. And that's a terrible investment. Cleveland, I think, was up 2%. So you get the idea that if you just own your home for 10 years on average, which according to the National Association of Realtors is the average, owning a home isn't necessarily the greatest investment vehicle. Now, does it create mental and kind of emotional security? Absolutely. Is it a great place to build memories with your family and lay down roots so that you can build community in a more committed manner? Completely. And my wife and I are totally on board for that type of thing. But the article for me did change my opinion about the fact that I should think about my home really being a great long-term investment. Instead, I should probably continue to put my money into the stock market and think about the fact that on average I'm going to get about 8% per year on my money consistently over the course of my lifetime because I'll be continuing investing for that period of time. And that leads me to the second article that was really interesting this past week. There apparently is a new trend for millennials. About 1 in 3 millennials are taking money out of their retirement accounts, either IRAs or 401ks or whatever the case may be, and they're putting it towards the down payment on their house. Now again, as someone who is interested in getting into the home buying market for the first time, this is something that has crossed my mind as a thought because I want to make my down payment as large as possible. However, if I stop and really think about the ramifications of that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And there were tons of people on LinkedIn commenting on the one article that I saw, some of them even loan officers, saying that millennials were solving a problem creatively for the first time that no generation ever has. But if you take a step back and look at the math, for me, it didn't add up, as long or assuming I did the math right. So in some research that I did, the New York Times back in April 2017 said that the median age of a first-time home buyer was 32 years. And I realize the median might be a little off from the average, but we're going to go with 32 for the time being. So if I'm 32 years old when I'm buying my first house and I'm going to work until I'm 65, that means I have 33 years to invest. Another article I found said that you can take about $10,000, I think is what the IRS will let you take, out of a retirement account if you're a first-time home buyer to put it towards your down payment. However, if I were to take that $10,000 according to a quick Excel formula and not add anything to it for the next 33 years, but I get 8% on my investment in the stock market on average per year, that $10,000 would turn into about $127,000 by the time that I retire. So the interesting thing, if I consider that growth in my money by the time I retire and look at it in comparison to the article in February in the USA Today where I may be making 2 or 3% per year on my house, it doesn't make a lot of sense financially in the long term to take that $10,000 out of my retirement and put it into the down payment on my house. The truth is, if I don't have enough money for the down payment on my house, I probably just need to continue practicing patience, continue paying rent, which feels like I'm throwing money away, even though there is some security in rent because I don't have to pay for the air conditioner or the heater when it goes out. I don't have to pay for the roof when it breaks. But I just have to be more patient and spend a little more time building up my down payment until I get to at least that 20% mark, so I know I'm not paying on top of my mortgage with a PMI payment every month. Those are just my 2 cents. They were 2 articles that I thought was really interesting. I've got links to them below if you want to check them out for yourself. And I would love to hear from you if you have feedback on either of them, because I think it's a really interesting topic of conversation, and something that everybody should take into consideration as you go about buying those ever exciting homes in your lives. That's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for checking it out, and we will talk to you again soon.